Okay, I decided I want to do a couple of extra examples here just because, I don't know, some of you might want to see more. So I'm just going to do the derivatives of a few problems here. Find the derivative of this thing. Let's see, f prime is going to be low d high minus high d low over low squared. So let's see, FOIL this out up here. We'll FOIL that out, I'm going to get 8x cubed plus 12x squared plus 10x plus 15. And then minus, let's see, 8x cubed minus 24x squared all over this. Let's see, 8x cubed and 8x cubed cancel. Let's see, the 12x squared and the 24x leaves me with minus 12x squared plus 10x plus 15 over 4x squared plus 5 squared. All right, let's do one where we have to use a couple of rules together. Let's find the derivative of this. Y equals x plus e to the x, or better yet, x minus e, or x times e to the x over sine x cosine x. Let's see. Only problem with that is we don't know what the derivative of cosine is yet. I'll go ahead and tell you. The derivative of cosine is minus sine x. All right. So let's see. Y prime. Okay, we got to use the quotient rule here. But when we're doing the derivative, when we're doing the d low and the d high, both of those we're going to have to use the product rule on. So let's see, y prime, we got the low d high first times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first minus high d low. Okay, for d low we've got to do first times derivative of the second. Derivative of cosine is negative sine. So that's low d high minus high, or no, I'm sorry. First times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first. And that part is low d high minus high d low over low squared. I could write this whole thing squared, but let's go ahead and just put the squareds on the sine and cosine. All right, so there's a lot of stuff there. I don't think we can do a whole lot with this. It's tempting over here with this sine and cosine, because you got, I'm going to write this in a different color. Above this, we could rewrite this as sine squared x plus cosine squared x. We almost are able to use an identity there, but we can't, because if that negative weren't there, we could replace this with 1, but because of this negative, we can't. So let's see. What can we do? I don't think we can do a whole lot. Let's just leave it like it is. Let's do another problem. y equals sine x over e to the x times x squared. All right, low, or y prime equals low d high minus high d low, first times derivative of the second, plus second times derivative of the first, over low squared. This is e to the x squared cosine x. Distribute that negative sign across these, we get minus 2x e to the x sine x, then minus x squared e to the x sine x. And all this is divided by, when we square that, you get e to the 2x, x to the fourth. I could factor out an e to the x. I guess I could factor out x e to the x on top, but I'm not going to. All right, one more, and I think we'll stop. Suppose you had f of x equals x squared plus 1 over x plus 5, and then this was divided by e to the x, or let's don't use e to the x. This was divided by sine x over x squared, like this. Now, you could do this by using the quotient rule several times. That's not the way to do it, but it's possible. You could do it by using the quotient rule and making this be high and this low. And then when you take low d high, you'd have to take the derivative of this using the quotient rule and so on. That'll work, but it's not the best way to do this. A better way to do this would be to first rewrite this as f of x is, let's think of this like this. We've got this fraction divided by that fraction. So we've got this times the reciprocal of the thing on the bottom. And so you could just go straight from here and use the product rule, but I'm going to do one other thing before I do this. Let's multiply the top out and get x to the fourth plus x squared. And on the bottom, we've got x plus 5 times sine x. Let's keep it in this form, or let's get it into this form, and now let's do the derivative. All right, f prime of x is low d high minus high d low. Okay, now when I do d low here, I need to do the product rule. All right, so the product rule down there, I get first times derivative of the second plus second, which is sine x times derivative of the first. Derivative of the first is just derivative of this, or derivative of this, which is just 1. Okay, so all that over low squared. I'm going to square these individually. Let's just leave it there.